Welcome to another episode of the List Night Podcast. My name is Griffin, and as always, I'll be the host of this lovingly constructed ode to the better days of Facebook circa 2011. I'm joined each week by my friends, confidants, and potential future lovers, Andrew Simon and Thomas Albert. If you're wondering how List Night works or why you're listening, worry not. Explaining things is half the reason I'm the host. Each episode will dive into a subject that we determine ahead of time, and we'll rank things according to that subject. If you've ever wondered what pizza chain is the best, aka most average of the bunch, we're your guys, and we appreciate you being here to listen to what we have to offer. As this pod is still young and uncorrupted by the cold, dark world we live in, the format could change week to week as we figure things out. If there's something you like one episode that we don't do the next, let us know. You can hit us up at any time on Twitter at ListNight. You can comment on our memes and my thirst traps on Instagram at list.night. And you can and should comment below what you liked, what you didn't like, and what you want more of. If you're watching us on YouTube, remember to throw us a like and subscribe, because we're 9 months into a global pandemic, and little numbers increasing on a screen are one of the few endorphin boosts remaining for us. Thanks again for joining us for this episode, and with that, let's get into it. We are going to hit it big with this podcast. That is going to be a thing.
All right, what's the topic tonight, host?
Topic tonight. Okay, thank you for asking, Tomcat. The topic tonight is going to be childhood shows from the 90s. And so we said ahead of time, we did kind of narrow it down. We didn't narrow it down, excuse me. We're not doing just animated. We're not doing just live action. We're not doing just game shows or anything like that. We're not confining it to a certain network. This is anything that debuted during the 90s. So it as long as it started between 1990 and 1999, it's fine. It doesn't have to end during the 90s. Doesn't have to be anything wildly specific. It can be whatever you want it to be. It could still be running today. And I'm sure there are probably some things on our list that have either ended in the past few years or are still running today. So, it's a pretty open field. When we do get going with it, we're going to start with Thomas. We're going to start with Thomas. I forgot the order that we were going to go in. Super proud of that. I'm going to go second, and Andrew is going to go last because he started last week. And so, Thomas, if you want to kind of just jump into it, give us the first one you've got on your list. And I assume, just like last week, we're probably going to go 5-1, build up expectation, because everyone really is waiting on bated breath for Thomas Albert's number one childhood show of the 1990s.
I was thinking of starting at 3, working to 5, and then going 2-1 just to mix it up.
I'd prefer that format. That sounds better. That sounds like our kind of confusing.
Yeah, I mean, this list was. It wasn't difficult to come up with shows. Like since we got on, I've added 2 shows to my list, so I have like 30. So, like, I don't know. I could have made so many combinations with this and still been happy with it. But the 5 I picked, my credentials were: how did I watch it a lot as a kid? Did I rewatch it? Could I rewatch it now happily? And memeability. How many memes do I see of it? And could I make my own memes?
Sure.
Answer to that one is no. But
I really like that set of criteria. Because I agree that sometimes you have extremely fond memories of a show and you go back to watch it and you're like, this is fucking horrible. Like, this is not good. It's hard to watch. So I actually like that criteria a lot.
I do want to pause really quickly. You said that you added 2 during the lead up to this episode, so you're now at 30. Andrew, did you just go with a top 5, or do you have a fully developed list of everything that was important to you during that 9-year period?
No, I wrote down about 10 and then I kind of stopped because I was like, I have more than I need. Although I might regret doing that because this is one of those lists where there's just so many good answers that I feel like one of you, either one of you might say something that I just forgot and left off, and we'll see. But I have about 10.
Gotcha.
I just added another, so.
Oh, 31. All right. So Thomas definitely in the lead in terms of what he's working with. I'm a little bit behind, not too far behind him. I got 28 that I narrowed down to now 18. And I do have a top 5, but really during the course of this pod, 18 could become number 1 based on how I've been jumping around. Since we said this was going to be the topic, I was saying before we jumped on, my number 1 when I woke up or when I went to sleep last night dropped out of my top 5 when I woke up this morning. Because I pondered it. I had some dreams about it. I brushed my teeth to it this morning, and it just wasn't top 5 material. That said, that could change during the course of this pod, and I'm glad I'm not going first.
In other words, these lists are consuming way too much of our lives. And let's be clear, all 3 of us have full-time jobs that we should be focused on. But instead, we're just like losing sleep over this shit.
Yeah, I was thinking about it all day.
I mean, based on the money that we're bringing in from the pod right now, I would say this is our full-time job, and what we do otherwise is our side hustle.
Okay, you go on believing that. I'm gonna look the other way. No, I have such a long list, but like what I really mean is like if I could make so many lists out of this just based off different criteria. Like I decided to keep all Nickelodeon game shows out of it. Like because there's like Legends of the Hidden Temple, Guts, I even can't figure it out, like and Double Dare 2000, like shows I love and like probably some of my favorite as a kid, but like it's such a different category, and I was just like, I need to narrow it down somehow. So like I have a huge list, but yeah, I got my 5. So
all right, well, I'm excited to hear them.
Yeah, so we'll start number 5. Keep it simple. This is the one I would be surprised if you have. It's Tailspin. Okay, just make sure you guys remember what Tailspin was. So it was 1991 where it started, and I remember just loving it. And like my biggest thing is, I found out today, Baloo's name was actually Baloo von Bruenwald the 13th.
No, it's not.
I mean, in the show it is. In the show it is. But I was reading up today on the wiki. His family had a wealth that he inherited, and then he lost because his family didn't pay taxes for like decades. So that's why he was poor.
He was a trust fund baby who lost it all due to tax
He was a
evasion.
trust fund. He lost it all. Yeah, I swear.
So Baloo is like what we wish Donald Trump had ended up being. Like, lost it all, ends up becoming like this cool pilot, because I did watch Tailspin. Like, that show,
right?
That show slapped super hard, and at one point it was on my list. That is a revelation. Did they reveal that in the show, or is this like backstories if you bought the children's books?
Apparently, there's the children's books. There was apparently only like one episode where he mentioned his family, but yeah, I mean, but again, like just name out of that factor out of it, like the fact that they took Baloo the bear from Jungle Book and used him for something else successfully, impressive by itself. He's a cool bear who flies planes, and Rebecca, his on and on off fence secretary girlfriend, she might be a bear, but she was an absolute fox.
I thought you were going to say his on and off against sexual partner. So I'm glad you went in the direction of secretary.
But then you said it. So.
Right. Yeah, okay. I see how that may have been a mistake. But, yeah. I mean, interspecies, like, that's cool. That's teaching kids, good lessons, maybe? I don't know. Maybe not.
No.
I mean,
not how you're taking it. I faintly remember Tailspin. Like, I don't think I have as many memories as you guys have of it, but I feel like I've watched it at your house, Thomas. Like, I do remember like it being on in your house. Like,
that's right, Griffin.
More than the average house.
That's right, Griffin. Andrew and I know each other longer. What's up?
That is a true fact. I was not invited to your guys' sleepovers until we were teenagers, at which point I was invited to all of your sleepovers. I'm fine with that.
Going to move on.
Probably should.
So yeah, but no, Tailspin's my 5 because I just have really fond memories of it. Based on my criteria, I have not tried to rewatch it, so I honestly don't know. But Baloo, the character himself, is just, I mean, it's a vibe I can very much get behind, so I support it.
I do really want to like, is he supposed to be the same character from the jungle? Like, is he like ageless? I don't understand.
So he's based off the same. He's based off the character.
Did they just
But
want to
they gave him the
reuse
same
the art
name.
assets? Is that what it was?
They gave him the same name and designed him the same, animated
he's a
him
bear.
the same. So it's like, what am I supposed to think?
I do want to say, if the Jungle Book was still the Jungle Book in every single other way, but instead it had Baloo from Tailspin, and he like flew a plane and all that, that would have been the best movie
make
ever
it
made.
better.
I would have gone broke watching that movie.
The bare necessities. You just need some jet fuel. You're good to go.
And a girlfriend of a different species.
No, she's the same species. I called her a fox, as in the term for a lady who's good looking. Like an absolute fox.
Like she's attractive. I thought you were saying she was a literal fox. And with Disney animation back then, I could see that being the case.
Yeah, she was fox. All right, we'll move on. Number 4, it came out in 1999, so just barely making it. Rocket Power. I mean, I could not see this list without Rocket Power on it. It made me realize both. Well, at the time, I thought it was really cool. Now I realize I was not cool because I thought Rocket Power was cool, and those kids were actually cool, and I was not like them.
No.
Like, I was very much more like Squid than any of them, and Squid was not the cool one. But yeah, I mean, Rocket Power was great.
It was more about like living vicariously through them, their lifestyle. It was amazing, and it may or may not be on my list. We'll have to wait and see. But I do. Do you remember that the one episode where Squid can't surf and he has like, and Tito's like, you can surf, you just need a wide board like me or whatever. And it was like basically we're fat guys, but like he never said that. He said something about like the ancient Hawaiians like said that wide boards are for like cool people or whatever. But
yeah,
I mean that's basically what he was saying.
I mean, I think we all went to Tito for some life lessons growing up, much like I'm sure the generation after us went to Iroh from Avatar for some life lessons. Tito was our Iroh.
Well, I mean, Tito's in my notes because, like, he's the super cool uncle I always wanted, but he's also the super cool uncle I'm trying to now be, and probably not succeeding, but I'm working on it. But yeah, I mean, it was a fun, feel-good show. Like, they did cool stuff. It was cool characters, enjoyable time. Like, and Uncle Tito. Who wouldn't want to live that life?
I still go to Tito for advice. It just happens to be vodka. So.
Oh, punny.
Sponsorship.
Maybe. I could drink.
Number 3, 1993. It's the only live action on my list because I felt like, well, I love the show, but I felt like I need a live action. And I had a couple to choose from, but I went with Boy Meets World. I mean, in terms of rewatchability, 100%. I've watched it not all the way through in a while, but like every once in a while I'll catch an episode. And I mean, it's still good. I still laugh. They still deal with some pretty real stuff, which is like looking back, like they cover a long period of time for these characters and like they don't shy away from some of the tougher stuff people go through. So it's a show that I really enjoyed then and still now. Like, I think it was super well made too. And that Halloween episode where they, it's a dream, but like Sean's killing everyone.
Mm-hmm.
That's still, still kind of scares me today. But yeah, it was just a creepy one.
I want to say that episode, isn't there like a scene with somebody with like a pencil in the middle of their head or something like that?
Yeah. I think he kills.
It was like really weirdly aggressive for daytime TV.
It was intense.
That show, absolute money. Again, another show that definitely taught a lot of lessons. Especially to yeah. Oh, never mind. I'm gonna stop that thought. I made enough dad jokes in the last one, and I do want to clarify that they were dad jokes, just jokes. So I'm not gonna make a dad joke on this one.
No,
that's kind of your thing now. That's what people know you at.
Right. It's your thing.
That's not great. That's not awesome for my actually genuinely great relationship with my father. Hopefully he never listens to the pod.
and like it started in 93, like, so obviously when I was watching it, like I was younger than they were in the show. All of them. Corey, Sean, Topanga, who smoke.
Nah.
Bad take.
Ashley.
Bad take. Bad. Okay.
Awful
Yeah.
take.
But what? But that's not what. Okay. That's not saying she's not good looking.
I mean, she was fine. Like I'll be honest, I never got the Topanga appeal. Like she was like semi hot, but nah.
Anyway, as I got older, like, I caught up with her ages. So like, and like going back, like, it was very easily relatable. Maybe not the first time I watched it, but as I got older, But yeah,
Yeah. No, great show, and even though we were young when it first aired, they had reruns on ABC Family. I feel like all the time of Boy Meets World, and the one thing that show was awful at was consistency and plot holes. Like they would like they would be in like ninth grade, and then the next season they'd be graduating high school, and then like halfway through the next season, like Corey and Topanga would be like basically having a kid and living on their own.
Yeah.
Like there was like it was the most ridiculous timeline ever that they fit into like I think 7 seasons.
yeah.
But it doesn't really take away from the fact that the show is fantastic.
Yeah, they covered, like I said, they covered a long stretch of life of the characters, but it was pretty. It wasn't like this season was 1 year, this season's a year. Yeah, it was very like zigzag.
See, I didn't remember that. I definitely thought that, like, probably because my sense of time was so not aligned with them when the show was coming out. I thought that it was pretty consistent throughout, but I guess that makes a lot of sense because there's no way that it was on as long as I thought it was on. Well, I'm pretty sure because I did look it up because it was a potential inclusion for my list. I think they were on for like 7 seasons, and in my head they were on for like 16 years. So there's a disparity there.
I think the reason it feels that way is because like it started when the year Andrew and I were born. You were 1, like so. By the time you were watching it, it was probably finishing.
Yeah,
but you didn't realize that. And like Andrew said, like it was always on anyway.
Yeah, it also like I feel like I also feel like it became super popular in the last like 2 or 3 seasons. Like when they had the group of like Jack and Rachel and Angela like as part of the main cast. The first half of the show I feel like was like almost like obviously like more of a kid show and more of like a show about going to school and like having those types of coming of age problems, but then it became more of like a definitely like an adolescent type friend group show, almost like Friends.
Well, it turned into much more of an actual comedy. Like early on, like there was like comedic things that happened, but it was like Growing Pains and all that other stuff that was on back then. Like it was humorous, but it wasn't like laugh out loud funny. And then yeah, like you said, with Eric and Sean and everybody else, and just like the hijinks basically that they got into, it became a much funnier show, especially when they were in college.
Which is something like I also like. I really didn't consider that before, but like it's a reason I would put something on my list is that it evolved. Like it did what it needed, and like that's my thing. Like it grew with its audience. But and like my younger sister, she used to get the DVDs of it. Shout out, she's gonna watch. She used to get the DVDs of it, but like she wasn't even conceived when it aired.
I mean,
So, like,
it's a great pick. It's a great show. It's a great pick. I think this could fall in anybody's top 5, like legitimately anybody's top 5, and it's a great pick.
So number 2, moving on. Rugrats. Rugrats was mine. I mean, it was my thing. I wanted to be Tommy, even though he was a baby, and I was no longer a baby. I wanted to be Tommy, and I still to this day think those kids in general probably smarter and more prepared for life than I am now. But I mean, it had everything. It had everything. It had the wacky parents, the crazy grandpa, the super cool Reptar car. I got nothing bad against Rugrats. Nothing. No negatives.
I mean, it's another classically great pick. It was a perfect show, basically a perfect show. I mean, like even like the Rugrats like movies and like specials that they did, like the Hanukkah special that they have. so good. And people were always like, that's like the only way I know anything about Hanukkah. And I'm like, that's the only way I know anything about Hanukkah. Like, that's fine. I'm cool with that. It's a great episode.
It's really, really good, and I was really torn on whether it was going to make my top 5, and it ended up not making my top 5. But I will say it's like it was probably the best show for like imagination. Like I really loved like the premise of the show that you would just like see everything from the baby's point of view, and it would be like a toilet, and they would like think it's like a castle or something. It was a really good idea for a show.
It's why I like your shirt so much, because the main character I can see is Reptar.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, like it was probably my go-to, honestly. I mean, as far as Nickelodeon goes, like especially when I was real young. But it also, I mean, like you mentioned the movies, Griffin. One of my favorite video games was for N64 and was Rugrats in Paris Mini Golf.
Yep. Played a lot of it.
Yeah, I did too until it disappeared. Because I didn't want my sister being better than me at it, so I hid it from her because I got angry. And to this day, has not been found by anyone, including me. I don't know where I hid it.
That's what Spite will do to you.
It's gone. But anyway, yeah, I mean it branched out into other medias. I mean, still movie, but video games, and then I mean they did that All Grown Up show, which really wasn't that bad. But yeah, Rugrats, I mean it was phenomenal. Great stuff all around. And number one, I mean, I couldn't not do it. 1992 to 1995, back again in 96, back again in 97. The Adventures of Batman.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm just going to pause for that. Just sink in.
To confirm, is The Adventures of Batman the same as Batman the Animated Series?
Yeah, so...
Fuck.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not saying that it was on my list, but I'm not saying it wasn't on my list.
It's my absolute, like, it's my favorite show. I've rewatched it recently. I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, the writing for back then, I mean, not even back then, the writing for this kind of show for kids was like, it was great. It was funny. It was dramatic. And I mean, I like I said, I still watch it, and the memes that I see from it now, even better. So I mean, and Batman's obviously obviously you guys know Batman's my favorite. So it really started with this show.
Yeah, Batman's kind of a bad bitch.
I can't wait to replace you.
Get over your dead parents. You're like 45. Stop taking kids off the street.
I'm not
Stop
saying
taking
it
kids
makes
off
sense.
the street. I'm not talking to you anymore, Thomas. I'm talking to Batman. I'm talking to Bruce Wayne. If you listen to this pod, because I've clearly convinced myself that you're real, get over your dead parents. You fucking weirdo.
You told
Clark Kent lost his entire planet. And do you see him brooding through the night in spandex, fucking taking kids off the street and then turning them into vigilantes? No, because that's crazy. You're crazy.
Would you rather him leave them on the street? Yeah,
honestly,
on the street.
would I prefer that he leave them on the street? Yes. Let them scrape their way to the top on their own, okay? You know, that's how legends are made.
Because you never wanted to be Robin, okay?
No, I think people would argue that I am Robin, but that's just because of my fashion choices. I was always more of a Nightwing guy myself. I wanted long, black hair. Yeah, no, but I didn't want to be Robin. I wanted to be Nightwing. There's a difference between those two things. You know who's emotionally healthy? Nightwing. You know who's emotionally healthy? Not Bruce Wayne.
That's real.
And not Griffin.
And not Griffin.
Okay, so we agree that I'm also kind of the Batman of the group. You know, I take back everything I said, and Batman's the best.
But you're like the Alfred of the group, all right? And like that's not even an insult, but
that's such a compliment. That's the nicest thing you've said to me in our friendship.
You can rock the tux, just not the tights.
Well, Griffin's weird Superman versus Batman shit aside, it's a great show. The only reason I don't have it on my list is because I didn't really it's not that I didn't discover the show till later, but I don't think I appreciated the show till later.
Yeah.
Like as a kid, I didn't really watch that show too. I mean, like I would like flip through and see it, but like not to the extent that I enjoyed it later in life. Um, so for that reason, I didn't include it. I am glad that you mentioned the memes because I was about to say that was one of your criteria, and I hadn't heard anything about memes for any of these shows on your list. But it seems like that was like a top heavy criteria.
So that's the thing. Like, Batman's the one where I currently see the most, but like I can see Rugrats. I've seen Rugrats and Rocket Power. Like Rugrats and Rocket Power, I consider very memeable. Boy Meets World, I mean, not necessarily so much. Tailspin, I don't think Tailspin was all that popular. Like I don't remember it being super popular. That's why like I didn't think anyone else would have it. Honestly, like I just don't remember it being a big thing.
I think there's potential here for us to make Tailspin memes into a real thing on the internet. I think
Let's
we
bring
shouldn't let
Tailspin
our
back.
we should not let our dreams be dreams. We should have Jungle Book and Tailspin memes intersection, baby. Let's go.
I think Tailspin should spin on back into our life.
Why are you making
Oh,
so many
God.
puns? Where's this coming from?
I feel like that's my first one. Andrew's made all of the ones today.
You're right. I do confuse you too
I,
often.
I made a few, but I think it was on the Patreon content before we started recording.
Sign up for a Patreon.
It doesn't exist, but maybe one day I will. No, I probably won't. I probably won't ever make a Patreon. Probably not gonna. Again, follow me on OnlyFans. Fuck.
Andrew, is Griffin freezing for you too, or is that just me?
No, just you. He seems fine.
Okay, cool. All right, let's go on. Who's next?
Yeah, I would say Thomas is freezing for me, but I think it's just,
Yeah.
By the way, I made this list with the thought that it seemed like more people did not enjoy my list than yours last week. So I did keep that in mind where I was like, you know what? I'm not playing to the masses, but like maybe looking at the masses a little bit.
I was just gonna say I like this list of yours much more than your list from the first episode.
That's because you're a sheep.
I think you. I mean that is true. I do.
No,
wear a
that
mask
means
outside.
you're a sheep. I thought we had agreed after the fact that you were basically like that's you as a person. You're like not a play to the crowd kind of guy, and you tell us on episode 2 that to a degree now you're playing to the crowd. You have.
I know. I'm looking.
You have abandoned your principles so quickly.
I'm looking to the crowd just to see, make sure they're watching.
You are about as corrupt as they come.
Guys, I'm a fucking seesaw, all right? I go up and down. We know this.
I don't like that reference. I don't want to think of you as a seesaw.
Okay.
I just want you to know that. That's just me saying it. All right.
Thanks.
Your top 5. Go through them again real quick. I just need a reminder. I know Rugrats was on there. I do remember that.
5 Tailspin, 4 Rocket Power, 3 Boy Meets World, 2 Rugrats, 1 Batman. So that goes 1 Batman, 2 Rugrats, 3 Boy Meets World, 4 Rocket Power, 5 Tailspin, 6 Partridges in a Pear Tree.
I thought you were going to go your 3 to 5 and then 1 to 2 order. So I'm glad you chose not to do that weird, erratic thing.
It makes sense. All right, moving on.
I need to pause this for a second and stop the recording because now this is happening.
Is he not our third host?
Actually, I think I can pause. All right, moving on to my list. Thomas, good list all around. Don't love that you played to the crowd or that you... Sorry, you didn't play to the crowd. You looked to the crowd. Let's get the terminology correct. I know. But hey, you do you, man. They're not my values that I'm abandoning. They're yours.
Okay, yeah. You want to look at your list from last episode?
My list from last episode was clearly great. I wasn't looking to the crowd. I just know what the crowd wants because the crowd wants me.
You had Star Wars on there because you're like, it's always on.
Yeah, also, Star Wars is my favorite. I have a literal Star Wars tattoo.
Oh, God, dude, episode 2, leave your shirt on.
You got that tattoo for the crowd. You got that tattoo for people to like you. You're
That's
always
true.
playing to the crowd.
If I had gotten it just for me, I would have gotten it like inside my lip. Yes, so moving on to my childhood shows of the 90s. The first one on my list, number 5, and honestly, this could be anywhere from 2 to 5. It's just definitely not number 1.
See, I might not have values, but I make decisions.
Yeah, I'm
Go
not
on.
a decisive guy. I love everything that's on my list. I love it without fail. The number 5, excuse me, thing on my list is Disney's Recess.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't have a criteria the way that Thomas did. I didn't like rank things on a scale of 1 to 10 in 17 different categories. Disney's Recess is just a fantastic show, fantastic cast of characters, where probably one of the first shows that I watched where I was like, yeah, I want to be these characters. I want to scheme. I want to plot. I want to come up with interesting adventures with my friends. And I want there to be some sort of payoff at the end of them. Recess basically taught us about like black market entrepreneurship and side hustles. And I gained a lot of good lessons from that show. Like you gained good lessons from Boy Meets World about like loving your family and like having good relationships. Recess basically taught me that if I ever wanted to be a drug dealer, I could probably be successful at it. Like they're basically elementary school drug dealers, and it's a perfect show. I can see the characters on that show, ignoring like the racial aspect of it. I could see the characters on that show turning into the characters from Always Sunny, and that's like my favorite show of all time.
That's a good point.
Yeah, they're schemers, they're manipulators. I feel like Andrew's gearing up for a reason why it's not a good pick, but I love it.
Yeah, Thomas, I was going to let you go first if you have anything to add, because I have a hot take that I'm about to throw at you.
Well, then let me go because sorry. Because I feel like I'm going to get angry, and I want to say this before I get angry. I agree, Griffin. It's on my long list. It also has a great movie. And also, if it wasn't for Corona, I was going to be TJ for Halloween because like TJ was fucking awesome.
Really, really quick because it has been a long time since I've watched it. TJ was the leader, or TJ's the fat one?
I mean, oh, come on.
I think that's a reasonable question. I'm not sure what look you're going for.
It's on your list, and that's the main character. Are you kidding me?
TJ's the main. Yeah, okay, right, okay. TJ's the one that grows up to be Dennis Reynolds. Yeah, I'm TJ. I got it.
I just also like it was Ocean's 11 for Ocean's 11 because it taught you how to steal, but also like keep it in the family, be a family.
Yeah, do it with honor, do it with dignity.
Now let's hear number 3's terrible take on this.
Don't call me number 3. And also my terrible take on this, my hot take. It's not terrible. Is very simply, fuck Disney's Recess.
How do we hang up on Andrew?
Don't ask me for reasons. I just don't like that show. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's funny. I don't think their schemes are good. I don't like anything about it. I truly hate it with every fiber of my being. If I saw it on this is the hill I'm dying on. If Andrew? I saw this show on TV, I would flip it to an infomercial. I would watch that guy who sold magic bullets on TV over this. Because that was a great infomercial, by the way. We should do a list of infomercials. I would rather watch anything than this show.
If Disney's Recess was an orphan and you were Bruce Wayne, you would not take it off the street, is what you're saying.
Correct.
So Andrew,
correct.
I feel like this is because you went to that smart elementary school where for recess you probably did homework. And I'm sorry that it hurt you and damaged you so badly. I'm sorry.
Recess is just the worst subject of the day. I'm sorry.
Oh, God.
You're a fucking square.
Just kidding. I love real Recess. I hate Disney's Recess.
Well, you're 27, so you shouldn't.
I can't wait to hear your list that's just bad. That's it. That's all.
I'll tell you what, Andrew's list is going to be SpongeBob 5 times because he's a bad person with bad takes.
Bad takes.
I also don't know what decade SpongeBob came out in because here's a fun fact. SpongeBob, not on my list.
It is in the 90s, also not on my list.
Hell yeah.
It was either 98 or 99.
TJ Bros, man, let's go.
You don't even know.
You don't know who TJ is. You don't know who TJ is.
You don't know who TJ is.
That just proves it. That proves
We're moving on to number 4.
You don't even remember which character's which.
I want to be angry at Andrew, but yeah.
We're moving on to number 4. Men in Black, the animated series, is number 4 on my list. And
That's out of left field for me, to be honest.
I feel like it's going to be
Yeah.
out of left field for a lot of people, and I think I may have just screwed myself out of even a second place finish. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. You know why? Because I don't look to the crowd.
Okay, OnlyFans.
Here's the reality, and I do want to be fully honest about this. About 15 minutes ago, Men in Black, the animated, or Batman, the animated series was number 4 on my list. Men in Black, the animated series was number 6 on my list. And much like I said with Recess, it really could have found its way anywhere. Men in Black, the animated series, could have been really anywhere, like 4 through 6. And once Batman was taken, and honestly, once I heard Andrew's opinion on Batman about how he said it wasn't as big for him as a kid as it was as an adult, I kind of reevaluated during that conversation about it how I feel about Batman the Animated Series, and I have the same take. Batman the Animated Series I revisited in my teen years and continue to revisit because it's such a well done series, but it wasn't huge for me when I was a kid. The one that was huge for me when I was a kid was Batman Beyond, and I don't know what year it came out, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't before 2000. And I could be wrong about that, but I went into this not thinking that it was before 2000, so it would be.
I'm saying 99, by the way. Go on.
It might have been 99. It honestly may have been 99. But I didn't think of it as like a 90s show, so I didn't want to put it on my list. So I went with Men in Black animated series. I think the show doesn't at all get the respect that it's due. Like, it's super creative. It's got a fantastic cast of characters. It's got a super non-traditional art style. And it's just like it's like a fun, weird, just kind of bizarre show that, followed up, I think, probably a lot of people, one of their like favorite Will Smith movies ever, and one of the better sci-fi movies of that entire generation. I love Men in Black, and the show, I didn't miss an episode the entire, I think it was like 4 years. I didn't miss a single episode every week that it was on. I loved it. And so, yeah, Men in Black animated series, number 4. If you haven't watched it, since I know it definitely was not as popular as a lot of stuff, I would recommend that. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but I mean, you have computers, go steal it.
First off, I was gonna get angry at you because you question my values, but then you change your list based off my list. But then you talked about how you revisited Batman, blah blah blah. I feel the same about Men in Black though. Like, I feel like I really didn't appreciate it when I was a kid, but I saw it later on. It is a phenomenal show. Like, I didn't even come to my mind though. So it's a good pick.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't seen it. I love the movie, obviously. Haven't seen the show, but one thing I can say with confidence is I'm glad you put it ahead of Disney's Recess, because fuck Disney's Recess.
Fuck you.
Is this what you're gonna be? Are you just gonna be the fuck Disney's Recess guy? Because that's a really narrow bottle to put yourself in.
It's a weird thing to hate.
It's such a weird thing to hate, especially for a guy that loves schemes and loves ensembles.
Batman Beyond was 1999 to 2001, by the way. I looked it up online.
Yeah, that's another thing about Batman Beyond. Fantastic show. Didn't have a long enough run. Straight up. Definitely deserve more years.
Yeah. Bring it back.
Yeah,
WB.
Bring it back. I'm going to move on to number 3. Number 3, I'm going to get a little bit younger with it, get a little bit more educational with it. Staying in the animated realm, I'm going Magic School Bus.
Yeah. I thought about it. I can't recall a time ever watching it not in school, so I said fuck that. I don't like school. I like recess.
So Magic School Bus is like if their lives in school were recess all the time, but also like it was educational, but like I never went into an episode of Magic School Bus being like, I'm watching this because it's like something that we also watch at school when our science teachers don't want to teach us, or in some cases where like our history teachers don't want to teach us. It's just a fun, weird, crazy show, and Miss Frizzle was a badass, and I always wished any of my teachers would be anything like her. Clearly, none of them had transforming school buses, so their options were kind of limited. But like, I'd rather learn from inside of a molecule than from a desk. So Magic School Bus, number 3 for me. It's a great show. Again, I feel like it's aged really well. Like it's always gonna be. I'm sure they probably still show it to kids in science class, even though it came out almost 30 years ago at this point.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Thomas, about how you don't really have too many memories of watching it at home. It's basically it's like a school show. That's kind of the reason why I love it, and I love this pick, is because I feel like those are great memories of those days when the teacher did not feel like teaching and would just roll out the big ass TV with the VCR or whatever and put on either Bill Nye or Magic School Bus or whatever. I feel like that gives it a leg up. So I like this pick.
I thought you were gonna end that with also it's not Disney's Recess. Fuck Disney's Recess. No,
I think the joke is dead.
I
it's not a
think
joke.
I think Andrew's making up for
but-
the fact that you called him out on going to a smart kid school. He might change his opinion later and be like, I've always loved recess. Recess was my favorite subject at my dumb kid school that you guys went to.
I like the pick. I do. I just like the reason I couldn't do it was because I was like, I don't remember. Like I loved watching it, but I don't remember like sitting down to watch it at my house, like excited. Like, and I also I feel like I learned stuff from Bill Nye. I don't think I actually ever learned anything from Magic School Bus, but I mean it's a great show. And there was a TikTok recently because I'm hip, I'm young, I watch TikToks. I mean I don't, but like I see them.
You're aware of what they are.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is something this guy does often, but it was like trying to lift the same as characters in shows. And it was Miss Frizzle, and she was benching like 5,000 pounds.
She's the goat, dude.
Something insane. But
She's
yeah,
the goat.
that was recent. So, no, it's a good pick.
All right. I appreciate both of you saying it's a good pick. That's wildly unexpected, honestly. Moving on to number 2. This is the only live action one I've got on my list. I've got The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And this is the only one that I did really go through and confirm when it started. I think it started September of 1990. I was a little bit nervous because it's like so clearly at the beginning, it's like the tail end of 80s fashion, which is I guess also now 2020s fashion based off of what's popular again. And I was a little bit nervous that it did start in the late 80s because Fresh Prince is A, one of the coolest shows ever, but B, like one of my favorite shows growing up, and I think a lot of people's favorite shows growing up. But it was just so much cooler than anything else that was on TV. Will Smith, for obvious reasons, and I just realized that I basically have him on here twice. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Clearly, Will Smith, very influential in my life. Top 5 Will Smith movies coming soon. It's just a cool show. Like Boy Meets World, and it kind of falls in the same like style of show as like a Boy Meets World or something like that. But it has so much more just dopeness to it, and like the aesthetics of it, the music of it, the characters on it. Very cool. Yeah, I don't have a bad word to say about Fresh Prince, and it's another one like on here that I loved it when I was a kid, and I can rewatch an episode of Fresh Prince now and still love it just as much as I did when I was 7, if not more.
Yeah, it's a great show. It's just one of those shows that I feel like all of us were a little bit young to be the target audience when it first came out. So obviously most of my memories of it are in reruns, which nothing wrong with that. That doesn't disqualify it from this list or anything.
Sure.
But I just didn't include it on mine for that reason because I definitely didn't get into it until much later.
Yeah, I definitely watched it when I was young, but I probably watched it the most, like preteen, teen. Like I probably watched it the most actually in the 2000s versus the 90s. But yeah, I mean, not a bad word to say about it. Like I watched episodes not long ago. Like it's almost always on in the mornings on something if I'm around a TV. But yeah, I mean it's a phenomenal show. You can just kind of get lost in real easily.
Yeah, it's one of those shows that I probably watched as much at like 6 or 7 as I did at 17, and again at like 25. Like it's just like a comfort show, and there's not a bad episode in the bunch.
Yeah, I did. I did fall asleep to it a lot in college because it was
Yeah.
on. I think Nick at Night in those years. So I would always like fall asleep to it and then wake up 3 hours later to George Lopez.
Yep.
He does seem like he'd be like the midnight crowd.
Yeah, he was.
Did Will Smith actually voice in the show Men in
I
Black?
don't think so.
I don't remember.
I'm almost positive they didn't, and
I feel like he didn't, but I don't know for
I can't
sure.
imagine he did. I mean, it was on for
Yes.
like 4 seasons, and he would have. I mean, that would have been very costly for a show that I do not think was rocking with that kind of budget, especially Will Smith
Yeah.
at that point. Like that was when he was like the superstar.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say no, he probably didn't. But
Yeah, no,
when I was a
would-
kid, I had
would
no
guess
way of
not.
differentiating.
No. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Fresh Prince, good pick.
Appreciate it. Number one.
Not as good as my list, but
Number one. I wouldn't be surprised if neither of you even considered, or it could be on both your lists. I don't know. Well, obviously not on yours, Thomas, but it could be within your top 31. Number one for me is Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, like I said, I thought that was the reaction I was going to get for it. I don't even think I really need to go into why Dragon Ball Z is arguably the coolest show ever created, but to just give an example for it, there's like a 13 episode run where Goku goes from beginning to fight Frieza to when he transforms into a Super Saiyan, where almost nothing happens, and people tuned in every single week like it was a heroin drip. Like, it was literally 4 months from the start of the fight to when we got to see him go Super Saiyan, but it just got increasingly cooler and cooler and cooler that there was no way we were not locked in for the entire ride. And that's totally discounting everything that came before it and all the dope stuff that came after it with like the Cell games and all that. Like it was a cool show. Everything about it was cool. And huge anime nerd, never gonna not be proud of my anime nerddom. It's one of the shows that introduced me to anime, that and like Pokemon and a couple other things. But it was like the first big fighter anime that I was like super into, and it defined the genre for the past 30 years. It's just the fucking coolest show. And if you say you didn't pretend to go Super Saiyan when you were like 7 years old, you're a fucking liar.
Okay, first off, from everything I heard there, you only picked it because the masses watched it. So, whatever. But also, I didn't pretend to go Super Saiyan when I was 7 because I didn't watch. And looking back, I don't know why I never got into it. Like, it seems right up my alley. So I blame my sisters for just controlling the remote control. But I never got into it, like, to this day. So, I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about it. It's just, it was not my show.
You're not dead, so you still got time.
Fair.
I will say, in comparison to a lot of things on my list, though, Dragon Ball Z has not aged as gracefully as a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
Because now time is so much more valuable than it is when you're 7 years old, and you do not want to spend 4 hours of content waiting for one cool thing to happen. Like, it's filler. Now you're aware of what filler is in a TV show.
Right. Yeah. Out of the 10 picks so far, Thomas, you're 5, and Griffin, you're 5. Up until this point, I wasn't like upset that I forgot like to include any of those on my list, except for this one. I'm a little upset that I didn't think about it. I don't know if it would have made my top 5, but it would have been damn close. If not, I did love Dragon Ball Z. I get what you're saying, Griffin, about like there were like the Frieza saga, the Majin Buu saga, like they literally took like months and months and nothing happened. But it was just one of those things when you're a kid, you didn't really care. You just like tuned in. I remember talking to like kids in elementary school that I was not even like friends with about Dragon Ball Z because like everyone was just that into it. So a little disappointed in myself for not thinking of it. It wasn't like it would never be like number 1 on my list, but it would have been pushing the top 5 if I had thought about it.
Can I be honest? I've known you for 27 years. I didn't know that. I didn't know you were that big of a fan of it.
Well, it was
one
like
of the
it
kids
was
that
like
he talked to.
Yeah, I had
Honestly,
no
it,
idea.
it, it was like a brief, probably year and a half period in elementary school where I was like really into Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a long period of my life or anything.
Probably
And
when you went to the smart school.
it might have been,
Left me behind.
and it yeah, that's probably what it was. All the smart kids watched Dragon Ball Z.
Other
Like I
kids
said,
were going out to recess, and he was like, "Nah, I don't fuck with recess. I'm gonna go watch Dragon Ball Z."
That sounds like exactly something you would do, Griffin. That sounds like
It
if someone said that's what one of us did as a kid, everyone would bet it was you.
okay. Well, first off, rude. Second off, almost definitely something that did happen when I was a kid. Probably more likely that I left recess to go like read a book because I was a fucking nerd.
hey kids, reading's cool. Keep doing it.
Reading is cool.
But
Also,
recess
don't
is also
listen to
cool.
Also,
No,
that's my top 5 picks. And if
Yeah.
you didn't catch them, number 5, Recess. 4, Men in Black. 3, Magic School Bus. 2, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And number 1, the greatest show of all time, Dragon Ball Z.
That's a statement and a half.
It was. Yeah, I don't know if I believe that statement, but I'm putting my name on it. You know, it's going to be on the pod.
It's out there.
It is out there.
I mean,
Looking at before I get started, looking at your 2 lists. I'm just thinking about how it's going to do on Instagram and social media, like
and
between
you're
the 2
worried
of you.
that Andrew's gonna.
I don't know. I mean, for your battle for second place, like how you guys are going to fare, and I feel like it's pretty close. It's kind of neck and neck from what at least from my opinion.
So,
I thought you were going to say that you were worried how sad Griffin's going to be when no one likes his, and then you felt pretty good about your second place finish at this point. So
can we acknowledge before Andrew moves on with his list that I was the definitive winner of week 1?
definitive.
Yes.
Definitive?
Yeah, based
No.
off of public,
No.
based off the votes that came in, based on the votes that we received in YouTube comments, on Twitter, on
Tally
Instagram.
them.
I will, but I don't think you want to see how that's gonna go.
I want to see if you'll do it.
All right. Well, no matter what, Thomas got last, but I'm pretty
When do we-
confident I got first.
When do we cut off the voting?
We cut off the
Like-
voting.
Yeah, we need
about 10 minutes ago. Not 10 minutes ago. We started this pod 10 minutes ago. We cut off the voting an hour ago when we started this pod.
I want to recount. Run off.
All right, Donald.
This hasn't been posted yet. Once this one gets posted, then the count from the last one stops.
All right, that's fair. Thomas is about to go make a lot of Gmail accounts so he can comment a lot of
I
times.
was just
on
gonna
YouTube.
say, gonna make a lot of fake accounts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good old Catfish Albert. That's what they call him.
No, that's not what they call me. God, it's lobster, you fool. All right, go.
All right, moving on. Okay. My number 5. I'm just gonna get right into it. My number
Get
5.
into
I'm surprised that neither of you have this on there. Classic Nickelodeon show, Hey Arnold. And I was expecting this to be an overlap with at least one of you and maybe both of you, but that's okay. I'll take a win if I can get it. But I just think Hey Arnold, great show. Thomas, you talked about like badass grandparents, or like not badass, but a funny grandpa in
Wacky,
Rugrats.
cool.
And I think
Yeah.
exactly, like there's no more badass grandparents than in Hey Arnold. That is 100% just true. I feel like all the people that lived in their, what was it, like a boarding house or something, were fun characters. Arnold's bedroom still remains the coolest bedroom in the history of the world to this day. The neighborhood kids also I thought were great characters. Gerald, fantastic character. And I don't know. I don't know. You guys have explanations for yourself why this didn't make either of your lists?
No, I mean, Hey Arnold. Yeah, Hey Arnold could take probably 4 or 5 spots for me. I put Rugrats and Batman above it, and Boy Meets World because it's live action. But no, Hey Arnold could have been Rocket Power or Tailspin for me. It's one of my favorite childhood shows. But back to his bedroom, like financially, from a business perspective, it makes no sense to give that bedroom to your grandkid who's not paying rent. Why would you give him that room?
You hope that he grows
You
up
could charge
to
a lot for
pay
the
rent.
penthouse suite.
Yeah, and also, I guess when you're kids, it's kind of cute, but like realistically, Helga should be like in jail or like institutionalized.
Yo, straight
I mean,
up. Andrew wanted a reason why it's not on my list because A, I think that show sucks shit, and B, because Helga is gonna grow up to be a date rapist. Like she's the worst. She legitimately, and the show might have been fine. Helga is an example of a character who is so awful and in so much of the content that it makes me not like the content. Like I do not have she has no redeeming qualities. And maybe if I watched it now I'd be like, "Oh, it's funny. She's going to also grow up to be like Dee Reynolds from Always Sunny." But back then I fucking loathed her and I had no interest in watching that show. I don't think I've seen more than 10 episodes of Hey Arnold and I disliked most of them. I've seen like Stoop Kid because it's iconic, but like largely outside of that I couldn't name a single episode from that show.
so I mean, I agree. Helga, really not a great character. Like looking back, but like at the time, it definitely didn't stop me.
Yeah, didn't stop her
Yeah,
either.
it didn't stop me. Yeah, yikes. She was if you notice I did not mention her at all. She's definitely not my favorite character. I could have done without her in the show. I could have done without the weird gum wad of Arnold in her closet and all that. But I kind of just took the good out of this show, which to me is every other part of it, and put it right in there in my top 5.
Andrew, let me tell you, I will not be using my burner accounts to vote for you on this one.
I just
Hey, you haven't heard my top 4 yet.
that's true.
I can promise you will not be voting for me. I know this already.
It's funny that you both had number 5s and then you both have bad takes on the other's number 5. And
That's true. We were really aggressive about our number 5s, which is the one that we should probably be like the least aggressive about because it clearly mattered the least.
You called one character a date rapist and said she ruined the show, and Andrew straight up said, "Fuck Disney's Recess."
So I mean, at least I backed it up with objective facts.
I wouldn't say someone's gonna grow up to be something an objective fact, but yeah, we'll move on.
Yeah, dude, you're fake news. So.
As shitty as Helga was, I feel like Arnold was a great soul. His good outweighed her bad.
I will say
he is a really lovable main character. I
did always want to get in a fight and then do the "don't hit me, I'm crazy" that he did and see if it works, because that was one of my favorite things from the show. Like one of my favorite things from the show. Probably one of my favorite scenes from my childhood. Griffin, do you understand this reference? No, because you're a loser.
Sure do not.
Smart schools.
I didn't go to one.
We know.
My sister.
Number 4.
It shows.
Number 4 on my list is kind of a curveball. Kenan and Kel. I love Kenan and Kel. It's I just think it's one of two live actions that made it on my list, and I was kind of deciding whether I wanted Kenan and Kel or All That to make my top 5. And the more I thought about it, and like I have gone back and watched both these shows semi recently, All That is a little cringy. It's very like stupid kid humor. So like at the time I loved it, but I feel like even though they're both a little cringy, at this age or even like 10 years ago, I would have rather gone back and watched Kenan and Kel. I just feel like the dichotomy between, it's the classic Abbott and Costello, like Kenan and Kel work great together. I was waiting for years for their reunion. Eventually, I think they did like a skit on Jimmy Fallon a few years back. I actually met Kel randomly in DC. Griffin, I don't know, or both of you, were you guys here for?
It was the crawl, right?
It was
the 90s bar crawl.
It was the 90s bar crawl in DC.
Yeah,
and,
I wasn't there for that.
And they booked Kel Mitchell to come and sit and take pictures with people.
I was in the bar, but I never went over there.
Yeah, I saw him from the front page.
Just can't imagine it would have cost that much.
Probably not that much. But I really like that show. I feel like it wasn't underrated at the time. I feel like it's now become underrated because people have forgotten about it.
Both of these were on my major list, and my original top 5, All That was in it. Kenan and Kel, I didn't do it for like the same reason we talked about other stuff. Is like I don't think I appreciated it. I don't think I enjoyed it at the time as much as I did later on. But I do agree, like if I were to watch them now, I'd prefer Kenan and Kel. Like I loved all that back then, and like I loved the Amanda Show. But like of those, yeah, Kenan and Kel is probably something I'd prefer to watch, and great use of the work dichotomy. I don't have to think about what that means at all. But no, I think you're right. I do think it's, and maybe it's just us, but like generally, I feel like it is underappreciated for what it was. Plus, Coolio did the intro.
I was just about to say that. Probably the best intro out of anyone's list so far.
I feel
We'll have to make another list, a follow-up list.
based on Thomas's, one of his criteria of memeability. I think Kenan and Kel would probably get a lot of play just because of Good Burger. I will say I completely forgot about Kenan and Kel being like its own show. I did have all that 16th on my list, so it did make my top 16. But Kenan and Kel probably a little bit better than that.
Wasn't Good Burger like originally from all that though?
I think so, but
sorry,
then
that
obviously they like. I think pretty much all their stuff spun off from that, but I think it was while they were still on all that.
I mean, they also made the Good Burger movie, so
Right.
Which is not as good as the Good Burger skits.
No, God,
it's like when SNL tries to make a movie like Night of the Roxbury. It's better as like a 3-minute skit. We didn't need an hour and a half of this.
Yeah.
I would argue you could probably describe our podcast the same way, but let's not get into semantics here.
Yeah, just post our list on Instagram and get it over with.
Yeah, let's
I think
just
that's
keep
what
it
most
moving.
people think. On a side note, though, speaking of SNL, it is wild that Kenan Thompson is still on SNL after what, like
he's going to take over
16 years.
It's going to be either him or Tina Fey. Yeah, he's going to take over.
I didn't realize till recently, like how long it didn't hit me that it's been so long that he's been on it. Like it's been forever.
I think he only had like a very brief pause in between Kenan and Kel and SNL, and he's been a cast mainstay. And they still obviously utilize him a lot, and he's still probably only because he was a child actor. He's probably early 40s at the oldest.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he's probably got
he's been famous for a
15
long
years
time.
on us, yeah.
Like Mighty Ducks and all that. He's been on top of the world for a while.
Yeah.
He finds a way to be really funny with his delivery when he's doing impressions, even though his impressions never sound like the person. They just sound like him.
His impressions are awful, but
like
hilarious.
But he's still fine. It's still like the way that he delivers them is.
He's just charismatic.
Funny.
He's just he's got the it factor.
Yeah. Okay, and then the next two on my list, unfortunately, there's some overlap. Number 3 is Rocket Power. Sorry, go ahead, Thomas.
42.
What?
Kenan Thompson, 42. Go on.
42, early 40s.
42 years old. Okay.
Doesn't look a day over 39.
Number 3 is Rocket Power. I couldn't not include Rocket Power. I agree that it was just a matter of like living vicariously their lifestyle through them. I still kind of dream of it. I still kind of dream of living at the beach and surfing all day, and not so much skateboarding, but as a kid, that was cool. Now it's more about the surfing to me.
You sure?
But yeah, I just want to shred the gnar. So yeah, just we kind of went over Rocket Power already.
No, yeah, I mean, it was a cool show.
You don't have to defend Rocket Power as a pick. It's in your top 5. It's in Thomas's top 5. It's in my top 12. And it could very easily be a top 10er for me if I spent more time thinking about it. Like it's a great pick. It's a universally liked show. I mean, they were the coolest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then number 2, like I said, also a bit of overlap in my other live action, Boy Meets World. Boy Meets World also was always going to make my list. It was just a matter of where, and I ended up moving it all the way up to the 2 spot. I think I started with it at like 5, and the more I thought about it, I was like, this to me, out of any of the shows, is the one I would just sit today and watch like an entire season of, like easily. And I would do that as a kid, and I would do that now. And I don't think I could say the same thing about any of the other shows on my list or on either of your guys' lists. So, maybe not. But for that reason, I moved it all the way up to number 2.
I would say, like, the show I could sit down and watch the most of in a day, it'd be the Boy Meets World or Fresh Prince. Like, it'd be 2 of the live action ones. Like, the other animated ones, I feel like I would get tired of it sooner than I would get tired of those two.
Right.
Even maybe Keenan and Kel, but Fresh Prince and Boy Meets World were bigger for me than Keenan and Kel ever was.
So what I was going to say was, have either of you watched or any of Girl Meets World?
No.
Maybe collectively over a period of a few episodes, maybe like 8 minutes. Like I've seen snippets and I have not enjoyed any of it. It's not for me.
I never did either. The only thing I just brought that up because like I feel like when it was airing a couple years back, there would like every season of it there would be like a couple episodes where they would like have a reunion with like Eric or like one of the main characters from Boy Meets World, and it would be on YouTube or something like that, and I would see it, and it would kind of disappoint me. I'd be like, this is fine.
Yeah.
But the original
fine.
This was random, but the original Boy Meets World, great show.
Yeah, I think that's generally the consensus on Girl Meets World is that it's fine. Just like what's the other one? Fuller House. Like
yeah.
I get what they were going for, and also like I mean a little bit to a degree it's a money grab, but like I don't think our generation had a desire for it to come back, and I don't think the new generation had a desire for a continuation for it. They were still watching the old episodes and enjoying them. It's not like they aged out.
So I feel this way about a lot of like shows I see, and I mean it's not that I'm watching them and they're obviously not geared at me, but like even when we were like in our late teens, I felt like the shows they were making that you would compare to Boy Meets World, like they were making for that now age group, were not nearly as good as like Boy Meets World or Growing Pains or Step by Step, Keenan and Kel. Like I feel like the live action like kid shows, like they got, and again maybe it's just because we were getting older, but like they got very childish very quickly. I felt.
Yeah, it's tough with the live action ones, like because if you don't try to make it a coming of age show, then it gets outdated real quick and it's like really goofy and stupid. And if you do try to make it a coming of age show, I feel like the line is very like you have a thin margin for error because it can come across as just like really cringy and like really stupid.
And like
But Boy Meets World seems to have found that sweet spot. Yeah. But Boy Meets World found that sweet spot that like it actually worked.
Yeah, like Helga didn't find that sweet spot, but Hey Arnold did.
No, she did not.
She may have, but I assume Arnold was probably unconscious.
Oh God.
Oh God. Don't ruin
this. No, don't even act like you weren't throwing me a softball. Don't even play.
The show already gets ruined with people's theories about like Helga's background and why she was like that.
Here's my hot take of our favorite shows of the 90s episode. Fan theories about cartoons where everything is depressing or a dream, they're fucking stupid and stop making them. I hate you. Stop doing it. Stop sharing them. They're bad. We don't need them.
What a PSA.
They're fucking awful. It's like, oh yeah, all the babies in Rugrats are like, because like someone had an abortion and like someone miscarried and that's why they don't know the gender of it. And it's like, no, they wanted to create an enjoyable show for kids based off of kids. Why are you a sociopath? Like I mean, I guess it's not fair to ask why are you a sociopath, but like try and tone it down in the fan fiction you write online. Stay in your corner of the internet where you write about like Edward and Bella and the other one. Don't fucking bring it on to Rugrats. Come on.
I mean, the only fan fiction I've ever written is Just Friends and Rat Race. So I mean, it is.
And I will watch that movie or read that book, and that's fine. But don't.
Yeah, that's one that the world was waiting
TV
for.
Shows. Yeah,
2022, Just Friends Rat Race.
Yeah, I'll be there opening night. Like I'll be there opening night. Like
just
that sounds
just
perfect.
Rat Friends Racing.
That's a different movie.
Yeah. Either way, Amy Smart is going to be the star of the show.
I will be there opening night. I'm excited for this film.
What's your number one?
Number one, I feel like you guys know where I'm going with this. I will say I have an asterisk on my number one because I hate the show after a certain point in time. I only like the first 3 seasons of the show, but for the first 3 seasons, it is the most memeable, most memorable, and funniest of any of these lists. It's SpongeBob. It's SpongeBob. It's always been SpongeBob. It will always be SpongeBob. However, after 2004, after season 3, SpongeBob can fuck off and die just with as much as Disney's Recess. That's how much this show fell off a cliff when they changed showrunners. It became an awful show, but when it started, which yes was in the 90s, barely made the cut, 99, it was the best cartoon.
So I did really enjoy SpongeBob when it first came out, like, but I don't have the love for it that I think most. I know you don't, Griffin, either, but like that a lot of people do. And while I agree, it's the most memed. I don't think it means it's the most memeable.
I think it's the most memeable. I
think
think
it's-
Yeah, but I think
the
it's your number
SpongeBob
one.
faces
Pretty average.
and the Squidward faces. What's that, Griffin?
I think it's pretty average. And look, I will admit right now, I did not watch SpongeBob as a kid. Like, all the shows that I watched that were cable shows, like Dragon Ball Z, that I watched as a kid, I watched them when I was at friends' houses, or I watched them when I went to the beach because we had cable there. I did not watch them in my house. I don't think we had cable until I was like 13 or something like that. Like, I mean, there was good shows on broadcast TV. There was like Fox Kids and Kids WB and all that stuff. So there was still like good Saturday morning cartoons and all that. But I don't think I watched SpongeBob until I was like 15. And maybe it's because I was like, it was like multiple seasons in at that point and it had already become bad. Or maybe it's just because like I was too far gone at that point. Like I was just never going to like it because it was like, it was just annoying to me. And I know that that's going to get me some backlash because people like pray to that show.
Well, and that's
But
why
I don't like it.
Yeah, I liked it like when it was geared towards me. But like I know people who'd watch it in college and like love it just as much. And I was just like, I don't get it anymore. Like I just it does not have the nostalgia that a Hey Arnold, a Cat Dog, and Angry Beavers, to name a few that were on my long list. Like it doesn't have the same nostalgia for me.
I will give you that it does not have the same nostalgia. I think part of that is because it never stopped airing and Nickelodeon never stopped like shoving it down everyone's throats all the time. And like I said, this is tough for me because there is a giant asterisk on it because I truly hate the show after they changed showrunners. Like I think it's awful now. I think it's been awful for way longer than it was good. But it's just I'm cheating on this list and I'm taking 3 seasons of a show.
But you're not. You're not. It's like The Simpsons. Like The Simpsons was the best show on TV for 10 years, and then it really, really fucking wasn't. But it doesn't mean we're going to devalue those 10 years. Like, it was legitimately the best animated comedy and one of the best comedies of all time because of those 10 years. And, you know, if it had come, I mean, it's not a children's show, so obviously it doesn't pertain to this list. But I get the SpongeBob pick, and I'm sure a lot of people, at the very least, would put it in their top 5, and a lot of people would put it at number 1.
Yeah, I honestly feel like it's gonna be, other than Boy Meets World, Fresh Prince, and maybe Rocket Power, it's gonna be like the favorite pick of most people, just because like I feel like I know more people who go towards Andrew than you or I, Griffin.
Yeah,
But,
outside of his
you know,
trash first pick, I mean, it's a good for the people pick. Like Andrew wants to be a populist president. It is what it is.
oh, yeah, Andrew plays to the masses, you play to the masses, and I just look at them.
Yeah, you do
Hey.
look at them, and they don't look back. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know in the comments what you want to see for the next video. We appreciate any and all support, and make sure you're also following us on Twitter and on Instagram. See you next time.